I'm Brandon Jones, host of the Teen Mental Health Podcast, It Is Not Your Fault.
And I'm Lambert Fisher, family therapist and host of the Diversity Dude podcast.
We're not always going to be all right, and that's what makes us human. Often, when we're in pain or even thinking of suicide, we may not want others to know, but you'll feel better if you talk to someone, and you can do that safely and anonymously.
We can recognize when loved ones are not okay. They bottle up, they isolate, they're angry.
That's why we want you to know about 988 Minnesota Lifeline for someone you're worried about or even yourself.
Anyone with an emotional or mental health related need can call, chat, or text 988 for free, confidential support. You can connect with 988 to discuss difficulty with money, relationships, anxiety, your job, concerns about drug or alcohol use, grief support, figuring out your identity, and more.
You don't even have to identify yourself or the person you're calling about, and no insurance is needed.
988 is available 24/7 year-round and can interpret in more than 200 languages.
So take a brave step. Call or text 988.
Or chat at 988lifeline.org. You don't have to do this alone.
It's not just another day in your life. Things are changing for the better. At Comcast, we see those changes, and we're thinking about how we use technology today to live, work, learn, and play. And we're building for the future now, so we're better prepared for the wants and needs of tomorrow. That's why Comcast is rolling out multi-gig internet speeds to more than 50 million homes and businesses before the end of 2025, making our already industry-leading network even faster, smarter, greener, and more reliable. Over the decades, Comcast has been your partner, working hard to serve your community, and will continue to be your partner. We're expanding our gigabits so you can enjoy the tiny bits that matter most.
It's Not Your Fault is a podcast for parents, caregivers, and young people navigating the world and its challenges. Here's your host, Brandon Jones.
Greetings, everyone, and welcome back to another installment of It Is Not Your Fault, a teen mental health podcast. I'm your host, Brandon Jones. And in today's episode, we are talking about a book that I recently read called The Six Working Genius or Geniuses. I don't know. It's an interesting book. And it is a book that comes from an author that I'm pretty familiar with. I read a few of his leadership books. I am not going to butcher the last name. I probably should have tested that out before I started recording today's podcast, but we're going to rock with it. But this book is by, his first name is Patrick, and I think I'm going to butcher it. I'm going to go for it. I think his last name is pronounced Likinoe. I am awful with names, by the way. So, but Patrick Likinoe, whatever, and The Sixth Type of Working Genius is the actual book. And on today's podcast, we are going to focus in on how can we apply the concepts of that book to adolescents. Now, this book was really written for more of leaders and leadership, but I found a lot of the concepts within the book applicable to young people. And I think that some of the things that are discussed in this book, if applied at an early age, could really set young people up for tremendous success and a way to manage not only their mental health, but their relationships with other people that we know are often tied to our emotional and mental health all the time. When our friends are not in good spaces, we often find ourselves not in good spaces. If our person that we're dating, our spouse, our partner, however you want to term it, is not in good space, that tends to lead us not always in good space. So what I found in the podcast, what I found in the book, and I was like, hey, I have to do this. I have to get this on the podcast, is that there is there's an opportunity to introduce these types of concepts to young people. So why not do it on the podcast? And, I'm going to do a brief overview today, but I think I might turn this to a series. You got to let me know. Give me some feedback after you review this podcast. Let me know. Should I turn this into a series and go a little deeper on these six geniuses Maybe I'll do 2 per podcast or something like that. But I want some feedback from you. So let me know. You know where to get a hold of me. Go to the Facebook group, type in "It Is Not Your Fault" podcast in the search bar. You'll find us, like us, send me messages there. You don't have to send a message. You can just post right there on the wall. I'll see it. Or you can send me a message via my website, www.jegna, JEGNA.org. That's JEGNA.org. And I'll get back to you there as well. So let's dive into it. So again, the book is entitled "The Sixth Type of Working Genius." And this book is, again, it was written for leaders, but I think that there's a way for us to apply the same framework to young people. And overall, the goal of the book was to help individuals discover their strengths and better understand how they contribute to work and team environments. And that's the thing that rang true. Many of our young people are going to enter the workforce if they haven't already done so. But oftentimes, adolescents are in team environments and they don't associate it with team environments unless they play sports. But what if they're in clubs and friend groups and they're in classrooms? Those are teams. Everybody's there's a social dynamic of interaction taking place. That is a team environment. And we don't always think of it like that. Now, again, this concept was for professional adults, but again, it can apply to young people so much. It can help them just excel in school, extracurricular activities, social interactions, etc. So here are the 6 types. Let's get to it. The first is wander. The second is discernment. The third is galvanizing. The fourth is enablement. The fifth is tenacity. And the sixth is invention. Now let's break each and every one of these down. So wonder is the ability to ponder possibilities and question the status quo. I have often found myself in the midst of trouble, debate, dislike, because my mind wanders. I try to push against the status quo. I don't do that much on this podcast. I like to just provide information and let you digest it. But sometimes I think we have to challenge the way that everyone thinks for us to think beyond that. And it's not in a malicious way. It's just like, why do we just accept the things that we get and that we have? Many of us just accept it and roll with it. The second one is discernment. It's the knack for evaluating ideas and situations, knowing what will work. Again, something that I've applied in my life, betting on the thing that's a little bit more of a sure thing than the high risk. High risk are okay if they're calculated, but you always have to have somewhat of a backup plan when you're doing high risk things. Number 3, galvanizing, the talent of rallying people and taking action on ideas and projects. Not my strong suit, even as a young person, but I found myself in leadership positions very quickly as a young person. So it wasn't me doing the galvanizing. I was more leading a path, and people kind of joined it. I don't know. I don't think that that's a strong suit for myself when I was young. Enablement, which is the gift to providing support and assistance to help others, help ideas come to fruition. That is definitely something that I've shown as a young person, is being creative and trying to make things happen. Tenacity, the determination to push projects across the finish line, ensuring completion. Not a strong suit for me as a young person. Definitely always leaned on other people to assist with the completion. And then invention, the creativity to generate new ideas and solutions to problems. Definitely something that I have come across one of my adolescent years. Now, think about those 6. If you're a young person listening to the podcast, how have those 6 shown up in your life? If you're an adult, have you seen those 6 show up in the lives of the young person who is in your life? Now, how can teens benefit from these 6 geniuses? Well, the first thing this can do is it can enhance their self-awareness. This is something we talk about a lot here on the podcast. We've gone through social emotional intelligence. We've gone through specific breakdowns of self-awareness. Can't mention how important self-awareness is when we talk about managing our mental and emotional health, because those of folks who are often mentally unhealthy are not self-aware. And that can sometimes be the detriment for those individuals. It can improve your group dynamics. So how you interact with individuals, how you engage with people can be improved. It can reduce stress and frustration. And we know stress is one of the leading causes of all health elements that are out there. And, we don't always associate our stress with our mental health, but when you're stressed out, you're more vulnerable to have various different mental health struggles. So managing that stress, mastering that stress is very important to maintaining a healthy life balance. It encourages collaboration. These six encourage collaboration, being able to work in groups. As I just said, many young people don't think of their engagements as teams or groups, but you're socializing all the time and you need other people to survive and to accomplish a lot of your goals, whether they're academic or social goals. And you have to be able to learn how to do that in an effective manner. It can also guide academic and career choices. So sometimes we can discover some of our purpose, our talents, and skill sets when we are actively engaging in these six geniuses. And it's important for us to understand, that these are all things that should be implemented for young people. And if they're not, there's a good time to start. We are at the beginning of the school year here. Many people are gearing up to go back to school if they haven't already started. Why not start with a new mindset, a new mind frame to push you through, to help you continue to move forward and help you grow and maintain a healthy emotional and mental balance? So, what are some practical steps you may be thinking to apply these things? First, and I kind of did this earlier when I was explaining the six, is I identify, well, what were some of mine? I talked about some of the ones that weren't ones that I was good at, some of the ones I was, pretty decent at, but identifying what yours are, identifying your genius. So, teens can start by reflecting on their past experiences where they felt energized and successful. What activities or roles did they naturally gravitate towards? They can also take an assessment or quiz design to help identify their working genius. And if you go to workinggenius I think it's .com, they actually have an assessment. So if you really, really want to know, you can go right there and find the assessment and get some good insight on where you fall within those six. The other practical step is talk to others. And this is where I encourage you as the adults who are listening to talk to young people about the gifts, talents that the young people in your life show and share that with them. Sometimes, even for adults, this happens that we don't realize our own um, abilities, our superpowers. We don't see that all the time, and other people see it in us. And sometimes we deny it because we're humble individuals and we don't like to own things that other people see. But sometimes you have to just accept what other people see in you and say, well, maybe that is right. Maybe that's true. But encourage teens to share their strengths with their teachers, their coaches, their peers. This can help others understand how they can contribute most effectively and foster a supportive environment around those skill sets. So encouragement is a big key to resilience. Encouragement is also a big key to growth. And everyone needs encouragement on one level or another. And we know that folks who struggle with depression, even folks who struggle with high levels of anxiety, sometimes they are the most disencouraged individuals that are out there. Seek balance. That's another big piece and step towards this as well. So encourage teens to build teams or partnerships that complement their genius. Understand that no one needs to excel in all six areas and can reduce the pressure to be perfect in every task. And again, I talked about the ones that I believe that I was good at as a young person, and the ones that I wasn't. You shouldn't need to master all six of them, but you should understand them and how they work for you as an individual. And then the last practical tip or strategy that I'll share with you all before closing out here is to practice self-compassion. And this is important. No matter what framework or tool we give you, it is important that people understand that you got to take care of yourself and you have to love yourself. No one's going to be a bigger cheerleader than you, and you have to cheer for yourself. So make sure that you're compassionate. Remind teens that it's okay not to excel in every area. By focusing on strengths and seeking support in their weaker areas, they can achieve more and feel more fulfilled. Let's help our babies grow. Let's help young people be the best person that they can be. And let's give them a shot to utilize their genius for something constructive. There's enough negativity in this world and what I like to call traps that are pulling young people in those directions. So if we can find a way to support, to encourage, and to facilitate their development. Let's do that. So I'm Brandon Jones. This is Not Your Fault podcast, a teen mental health podcast where we're here to help you as a caregiver, parent, youth worker. Just think about how to help improve the lives of young people. And then for the young people who listen to the podcast, it's an opportunity for you to hear something different from someone who may or may not have been in your shoes, but definitely cares about you and young people. Again, I'm Brandon Jones. This is It's Not Your Fault podcast. You can check me out and some other great people. First place is check out our Facebook group. Just go ahead and go to Facebook, go to the search bar, type in It's Not Your Fault podcast. You can find us. I'll put a little article that I wrote about today's podcast there, as well as the posting for previous podcasts are all there, as well as some other resources. If you want to get in contact with me directly, just go to www.jegna, that's jegna.org, where you can get to me directly. And then if you like me, you will love our other podcasters on our network. The network is ShalettaMakesMeLaugh.com. Again, that's ShalettaMakesMeLaugh.com. We don't only make you laugh on the network. We help you learn. We help you grow. So go ahead and check us out there at ShalettaMakesMeLaugh.com. That is it for me today. Be safe, be constructive, and be well. See you next time.
To check out previous episodes of It's Not Your Fault, or to learn more about Brandon Jones, log on to ShalettaMakesMeLaugh.com.
You know Shaletta makes you laugh, but did you know Shaletta Brundage can also make you think and boost your business? Media personality, activist, and comedian Shaletta Brundage founded Shaletta Makes Me Laugh to celebrate and share the best of Black culture. It's a podcasting platform. You can download 10 weekly podcasts hosted by African-American subject experts at ShalettaMakesMeLaugh.com or wherever you find your favorite podcasts. ShalettaMakesMeLaugh.com is also a production house, creating broadcast-quality commercial content. And Shaletta and her team of storytellers create powerful promotional campaigns to get businesses the brand awareness they're looking for. Some of Minnesota's top businesses trust Shaletta, and you can too. Get out the word about your events and products and get in front of communities of color with ShalettaMakesMeLaugh.com. She's got the power to help your business.
If you live in an older home, it may contain lead-based paint on walls, woodwork, and windows. Even more bad news, lead exposure can be dangerous to young children and impact their brain development. And now, the good news. Hennepin County will fix lead hazards in your home at no cost to you.
We were worried because of the paint in the windows in the bedroom. They were peeling and chipping, and we know that when paint peels and chips and it looks a certain way, that's possibly lead. We were worried for our children more so than anything.
Eligible homes can qualify for up to $15,000 in upgrades. You may even qualify for new energy-efficient windows. Don't worry, Hennepin County has a trusted list of pre-approved contractors. You won't even have to find companies with correct licenses or certifications.
I've just done a test and it's positive. So we know that this is lead-based paint, and then we know it's a hazard because it's creating dust every time this window moves and opens. And if you look in here, that's just full of lead paint chips.
You won't have to stay with your cousin while you're getting the lead out. Hennepin County even pays for you and your family to stay in a hotel while the work is underway. The last good news is how easy it is to apply. Just go to hennepin.us/lead control to get started.
I'm really happy with the program. We can go to bed knowing that our children are safe.
That's hennepin.us/lead control. Tell your friends about it.
I'm Brandon Jones, host of the Teen Mental Health podcast, It Is Not Your Fault.
And I'm Lambert Fisher, family therapist and host of the Diversity Dude podcast.
We're not always going to be all right, and that's what makes us human. Often, when we're in pain or even thinking of suicide, we may not want others to know, but you'll feel better if you talk to someone, and you can do that safely and anonymously.
We can recognize when loved ones are not okay. They bottle up, they isolate, they're angry.
That's why we want you to know about 988 Minnesota Lifeline for someone you're worried about or even yourself.
Anyone with an emotional or mental health related need can call, chat, or text 988 for free, confidential support. You can connect with 988 to discuss difficulty with money, relationships, anxiety, your job, concerns about drug or alcohol use, grief support, figuring out your identity, and more.
You don't even have to identify yourself or the person you're calling about, and no insurance is needed.
988 is available 24/7 year-round and can interpret in more than 200 languages.
So take a brave step. Call or text 988.
Or chat at 988lifeline.org. You don't have to do this alone.